we need this. And
Yeah.
we're going to be looking at getting more and more fund. The most amount of funding we can get, the more we can get, the better we're going to be. And as I said before, on top of that, we're looking at working with the football club to having a new 3G pitch put in, which means that more groups can use that as well, because it's allied to the recreation ground. It's not just one part, it's the whole of that area being redeveloped, and linking that in with what's going on at the hub, linking that in with the co-op, and all these groups coming together so that the whole of Merstham has something that, you know, and I knock on about every time, we love being part of Merstham, and we want people to come into Merstham and to say, blimey, you know, why are we not living here? Why are we not part of this? And residents in Merstham love Merstham, but it's always had a problem. And that's what we as councillors are trying to get away from. You know, it's a great place to be part of, and I want a recreation ground that residents can be proud of and want to use. So the minute the lockdown finishes and I can get back to having meetings, as much as I can, I'll be telling residents what there is. And the minute we're going to have consultations, I'll be putting that out so residents and that yourself can actually tell us where we can hold these things. You know, at the hub would be perfect, so residents can come along and see it all.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Frank.
Can I just add to that, Marcus? I know we had a few events in the last summer and over the autumn, fetes, etc., where actually we had stalls where we captured residents' ideas. They've quite varied, obviously. Some wanted sports facilities, some definitely didn't want sports facilities. So, you know, but what we have got is a very good cross section, and we've done that when we've gone around talking to residents as well on what they want. What everyone wants is a really good recreation ground. How that's defined is, I guess, is the devil in the detail.
Sure.
But I'm personally very excited to say that we'll get to the point where the Merstham recreation ground not only will be up with the Priory or the Harlequin, not the Harlequin, you know, the Memorial Park in Redhill, but actually up beyond that.
Okay.
It'll be very exciting.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for your input, guys. Thanks for that. Okay, we're going to go away from the rec now onto the condition of local roads. Mike Fortune asks if there's anything being done locally to fix the potholes.
Well, there is. I mean, with all potholes or road issues, Surrey County Council have got a website, and the best way to get attention to those road issues is to report that pothole. The resident reporting it will actually get a reference number,
right?
And then the council will actually go out, and when the work is carried out, they let the resident know exactly that it's been done.
Yeah.
The issue that we have is a difference between, and this is not splitting hairs, this is fact, difference between a pothole and road delamination. Road delamination is where the surface has been laid and it's been worn away.
Right.
And the potholes are easily categorized. Anything above or greater than 40 millimeters, you report it. I report them frequently, and I get frequent notifications the work's been done.
Okay.
I look at areas around Merstham and I report them, and again I get updated. So the more people report it, the more it's going to get done.
Okay, so I mean, it'd be helpful if residents took photos to
great opportunity
to clarify if it is a pothole or something else. That would be a really good
take a photograph of it, report it, attach the photograph.
Yeah,
it helps the council streamline and focus their people.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, we're going to go on to speeding now. Adrian Harrow has asked what's been done about speeding on Albury Road. And Joe Lawless has raised an issue around illegal quad biking speeding on Bletchingley Way.
Should I start with Albury Road?
Sure, of course. Thank you.
There's no speeding enforcement as such on Albury Road as we speak. I was down there this morning actually just to remind myself again of the local area in preparation for this. I went along Albury Road and Ensley Road, Nutfield Road and so on. There haven't been any reports of injury accidents, personal injury accidents there, which counts against it. But there haven't been any reports, according to the police, of people wanting speeding enforcement. So thank you for raising it. Obviously, the police can't do every single road in the county, but if it's not reported, then it sort of drops off the map. But it now has been reported, and I will speak to the borough commander. I'm often asked, and it's a very sensible question, you know, do you have to have an accident before any enforcement is done? You know, it's an obvious question. And the answer is no, you don't. You know, it's an accident, personal injury accident is not a trigger for enforcement, but obviously it helps. If there is a known accident black spot, then the police and the Highways Authority treat it more seriously, and that has to be right, otherwise you're just ignoring accident. But there's also things like what we call community severance. Basically, it means people are frightened of crossing the road, especially if you're disabled or haven't got very good mobility. So the police will take all reports very seriously. But, you know, to be frank, there's not enough of roads police, not enough of any police. And so we can't be everywhere at once. And the message to residents is, if you're worried about speeding or indeed anything else, report it, because only then can we build up a head of steam actually to get it up the priority list.
Okay,
so that's where we are at the moment with Albury. And the other one was, did you say Bletchingley Road?
Bletchingley Road, yeah.
No, and what was that? What was that about?
That was regarding illegal quad biking. Okay.
Again, I'd not heard of that, and I hadn't had a report in, but I have heard of it now, and I will speak to the borough commander. And I'm scribbling as you speak. There is, unfortunately, since the coronavirus's lockdown restrictions have eased a bit, I'm afraid a lot of bikers of all sorts are taking to the roads. They are speeding because there's not too much traffic elsewhere. And again, our roads policing units are out there. I've heard, especially on the A24, for instance, which is not too far away, and the A23 as well, close to you, and we're picking them up. But again, we need those reports coming in so we can actually turn our attention to where the most residents concerned is. But I've made a note.
That's brilliant, thank you. So the bottom line with the speeding concerns are, if there's not a sufficient amount of accumulated reports, then nothing can be actioned.
I won't go so far as to say that, because the police are out there as well, of course, and they're experienced and they can see where there's speeding as well. But it helps a lot, because one of the things police want to do is respond to community concern. And if they don't get reports, then they think, well, does the community, is it really concerned? Probably it is, so they need to say so.
Okay, brilliant.
Can I add to that as well, Marcus?
Of course.
The last time you did one of these Zoom sort of webinars, I mentioned about community support, Speed Watch.
Yep.
That's a program that was developed by Surrey Police. It enables and empowers residents to actually be trained by the police, be supported by the police, and actually do some speed watch themselves, because as Mr. Munro has already mentioned, we don't have the opportunity of having a policeman on every road, but we do have the opportunity of moving these speed watch programs around the borough. And by doing that, we are actually training people, and the word is spreading, and it does reduce the speeding. Not trying to get residents to do the job for the police, but it's actually trying to get the residents to empower them to actually report some issues, and then the police take the action, not the residents.
Yeah.
Could I say, I'm really grateful for Bob for mentioning that. I should have done myself. Community Speed Watch is absolutely one of the keys for speed enforcement, and I'll take the opportunity to take my hat off to the thousands of residents across the county who are actually doing that, and started by the police, but really well supported by Reigate and Banstead Borough Council and the County Council as well. And I've even got a bit of money. I can put a bit of money where my mouth is. So if people would like to start a community speed watch, get the training, get the kit, it won't be lack of money to buy the kit that will prevent you, let's put it like that.
Can I make two very positive observations locally that directly relevant to what we've just talked about? David mentioned the A24. I live, as you all know, in Netherton, and Hooley residents, our neighbours in Hooley, were complaining that since lockdown has eased, since lockdown has happened, speeding before lockdown wasn't an issue on the A23, as we all know. It's the opposite problem. But actually, since there's not been much traffic, it's been a serious issue. And we've asked the police to go and do some enforcement down there, and they did do so. I saw them myself. I wasn't speeding, so we're all right. But actually, a number of people were, and they've all been receiving summons. And so that's great. And another positive comment, David will back me up on this one. He and I attended a meeting in Chipstead when I was a councillor for Chipstead before the boundary changes. I was councillor for Chipstead, Hooley, Netherton and Woodmanston. Same issue there about speeding. And the residents' speed watch do a cracking job. No one knows where they're going to be. And apart from anything else, of course, what it means is that their neighbours aren't going to be speeding because they're shamed into not speeding, which is a good thing. Myself and Bob had a go at it down on the back streets of Netherton, and unfortunately one of the speeding vehicles was the Netherton community bus, which which we did have a word with them about. But yeah, so it works.
Okay. We've got some comments coming in over the Facebook feed. Got one that's just popped up from Simon Giffen. Sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. So what do we have to do practically for Albury Road? A petition? Question mark. I think that's a question.
Yeah, that would be good. Albury Road, I will report it now, but every little helps. To stop speeding is not just a question of enforcement, although that's part of it. It's also the highways need to look at it, to get to the root causes. Why are people speeding along Albury Road? I have to say, I went along again to remind myself this morning, and it didn't look to me an obvious road where people would speed along because it was quite narrow, cars parked either side and so on. But clearly they do, and so local residents living there need to report it, and hopefully the police and the county council working together can work out what to do. I've got to be honest here, it takes a bit of time sometimes for streets to get up on the priority list, and highways measures, they cost money, as Bob will know, of course, but if it does, we've got to start somewhere, get on the list, and then things can start to happen.
Sure. Okay, so we've got the basis of a good starting point then.
Yeah, and one of the other issues, I've been asked down Albury Road, putting speed bumps. All speed bumps actually do is create traffic noise because people don't slow down. They seem to go over them very fast, and then people complain about the noise.
Yeah.
And as crazy as it sounds, it costs £12,500 to put in one speed bump, which is just nuts. What we need to do is change the pattern that is that we are experiencing down Albury Road, and that is to actually have a community speed watch.
Okay.
Could I ask? Is it a bus route? I didn't see any buses when I was there.
Albury Road. Half of Albury Road is on a bus route. Yes.
Right. You've got to be very careful with speed humps because they make life very uncomfortable for bus passengers.
Okay. Thanks for that. I think we've got to move on to Jo Lawless. She has a question. She's raised a concern that there's no community police to contact and that drug dealing is out of control on Nailsworth Crescent and on Portland Drive.
The answer to that is, and I'm sorry that there are problems there. Did you say, I'm just writing Ellsworth Road?
Nailsworth Crescent.
Nailsworth Crescent. I'm sure the police know about it, but I'm going to add it to the list anyway. drugs. Okay, got that. The answer, if you've got any concerns at all, if you think there's a danger to life and limb, your own, you dial 999. Don't mess around. Otherwise, you dial 101 or go online to Surrey Police's website and report everything. Okay. 101, to be quite frank, a few years back wasn't very good. It wasn't giving a proper service. So we put a lot of money into it, trained up people, and put more people on it, and it's an excellent service now. You'll get a very good response, a speedy response, and things will start to happen. So that's the message. Contact 101 with all your concerns. I promise you, this is a pledge, they will be looked at. Doesn't mean you'll get a copper around within the hour, because it depends what else they're doing, because they've got to be prioritized. But I assure you, it will be put on the list. And drug dealing, at police, we have a zero tolerance policy on drug dealing. It is evil, it is wicked, and we need to stamp it out, and we need everybody's help to do that. So report, report, report. Okay. And could I say, the Crusader mind, please don't take drugs yourself, because you're doing that. We all know the dangers of drug use, but you're feeding a very, very vicious, nasty industry as well. Just think, how's that drug got to me? And I think it may shock you.
Sure. The other aspect, I mean, as well as Nailsworth Crescent, I think the reference was made to the Merstham Hub. I'm very actively involved in the Merstham Hub as a director of the hub. Yeah. And like David, I would stamp out drug dealing absolutely to the core at Merstham Hub. If it's got an issue, call 999. We will get them collected and get it stopped. It's harming our children.
Okay. Thank you guys. We've got a question coming from Liz Brains. How much would one of those speed signs that flash up your speed when you go over the speed limit cost?
From record, I think it's about 120 to 140,000 pounds for one of those speed signs. But you know, if it's needed to actually get the speed slowed down, then let's get a petition. Let's get something going. I'm more than happy. I want to slow the speed down. I've seen the difference that average speed cameras have on the A217 and the A24. It's remarkable. And I'd like to see average speed cameras on the A23 to speeding that we have in the area.
And that would also be preferable to the £12,000 that's required for a speed bump.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Bob. So we've got a question from Ruth Reed. She's asking if bobbies on the beat can be introduced to be a calming influence to the area.
I've got good news for you. Yes, they can. There won't be one on every street corner ever, but we are recruiting like mad. We've been recruiting for the last year, and we'll be doing that for the next 2 years. And a lot of Surrey Police's new recruits are actually going into the neighbourhood, and we are doubling the number, for instance, of police community support officers who are there to help the community, but also warranted police officers as well. They're not all there yet. It takes a year to recruit, to retain, train, and give them enough experience. We're on our way. By the end of next March financial year, in 2 years' time, we will have recruited nearly 200 more police officers to add to the at that point 1,800 already there. My big worry is not the recruiting, the retention rate is not as good as we would like it, because all police forces are recruiting now, and some of them, you know, are people in Surrey are wanting to go to other police forces. So we're worried about that, because there's no point having people coming in through the front door if too many people go out through the back door. But we've got a big campaign to retain our police officers and staff, and I'm sure we work. And one of the ways the community can help, next time you see a police officer, please smile at them and tell them they're doing a good job. They really appreciate feedback from the community. Now that's not the whole answer, of course, but every little helps.
Marcus, I think you've frozen somehow. Looks like
looks
charged now.
like Marcus has lost connection for some reason, which is a shame. Hopefully he'll try and come back in, because obviously he's got all the questions.
Well, one question that was raised whilst Marcus is coming in, and that's from Mr. O'Donoghue in Albury Road, ironically enough, is that we're finding that a lot of vehicles being parked on the public footpath, in some cases blocking the whole footpath and causing children and pedestrians and disabled people to have to go into the road to bypass the vehicle. It's a particularly sore subject for me, because in some roads, actually, I've taken away the grass verge to enable people to park half on the road and half on the footpath, but still to enable people to pass. And then I find that the whole vehicle is actually parked on the footpath, all four wheels, which is not what it was designed for. You know, if this becomes an issue, we've reported it to Reigate and Banstead Council, and they have a joint enforcement team which is empowered to go along and place a parking warning notice on the offending vehicle. The unfortunate part here, though, is that it is only a warning notice. They do not have the power to issue a ticket, because we're waiting for that empowerment to be passed down to us or to Reigate and Banstead Council from the Surrey Police. So I don't know whether you want to let us know at what stage the passing of those powers are to the Borough Council, Mr. Munro.
Sure, yes, the powers do have to be specifically delegated legally. As far as I was aware, the applications from the council went up to the police and they were approved. Bob, let's get together outside this meeting, if we may, and let's just check there are no hold-ups there, but I'm not aware of any, and certainly the police are keen for as many people as possible to play their part in enforcement of these matters.
Could you keep us in the loop on that one as well? Because if necessary, we'll talk to the executive member responsible for enforcement.
I think both of you need to be involved in that, because it's a Borough Council enforcement as well as...
It is.
The jargon is called CSAS, a Community Safety Accreditation Scheme, which I know Reigate and Banstead Council are very keen on, and so are we. So if there's any bureaucratic hold-ups, let's make sure that we unstick those.
Right, sorry for the disconnection there, guys. The internet went out here for some reason, so I apologise for that.
We've been talking about parking on the pavements, which is the another issue that's been raised whilst you were disconnected.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, guys. Okay, we've got a question that's come in from Sue Rogers. She's asking, when is the path going to be fixed before the station? And did I miss the part about the alleyways between Radstock and Huddleston and Mansfield Drive?
No, you didn't miss that. Is that you, Bob? You're on mute, Bob.
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, what are you talking about specifically about the footpaths?
Yeah, I think Sue is talking specifically about the path that is just before the station, the path leading up to it.
The one I think you spoke about last time.
I know the bit you're talking about, which is being crushed by British Rail lorries. Has got plastic boundary pieces around it to protect people falling in. That is a dispute between British Rail and Surrey County Council. We know their vehicles damaged it. They actually agreed that they were going to pay for the repairs, but at the moment they haven't been forthcoming. We are suing them from the council, and we will be repairing it. It's not just a matter of actually replacing the footpath. We need to put some substantial bollards there to stop the vehicles mounting the pavement and causing further damage.
Okay.
But that's in process.
Okay. This is probably, apologies if this has been covered before, but this is a question about parking on double yellow lines that's been raised by Catherine Rushell. She's raised the concern that there's quite a lot of parking on double yellow lines outside Tesco.
Do you want to pick this up? The parking enforcement on double yellow lines is covered by the parking wardens at Reigate and Banstead, and if they're informed that vehicles are parking on those, they have the right to issue tickets. And I wonder if my borough colleagues want to mention anything on this.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to the leader of the Reigate and Banstead Borough Council this morning, who's also one of us. Unfortunately, while the COVID-19 lockdowns were in place, there were problems with enforcements. But now that we're coming out of lockdown and parking enforcement is back in place, he's actually asked the enforcement team to prioritise that as one of the items they look at. Unfortunately, where Tesco's is situated, it's not actually in Hooley, Merstham and Netherton, it's actually in Red Hill East. So it's in another borough area. But
Okay.
we are liaising with our borough colleagues in that area as well to let them know that the enforcement team have been asked to go and have a look at the WL lines. There is, and I think it's another thing that's been mentioned here somewhere, there is a huge amount of dead space, as it were, outside of Tesco's.
Yeah, that was going to be the follow-up question, I think, to this.
I know it was, that's why I'm getting in there before you. I know it's something that residents have asked us about, putting in extra parking there. When the Tesco's was originally opened, it was actually a seating area with a waterfall, back when it was first put in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, for whatever reason, the waterfall was taken out. They have put in applications to change that for parking areas, and I'm not sure where that went. So when I come on, I will have a look. For where we are in state of play with regards to that, but unfortunately, I can't go stepping on fellow councillors who's it's not covered by my wards, but we would like to help residents there that can use it. We've also got at the co-op as well, where there is only limited parking. Unfortunately, when a lot of these small supermarkets are put in, they're put in for residents really to be walking backwards and forwards. We do want the people coming from outside, because obviously it generates extra income, but unfortunately it does lead to problems with parking. So we are looking at it, and we are speaking to co-op in our area to see what we can do regarding parking in our area, and we are asking residents to use some of the other areas that they can park in. But unfortunately, it's one of those situations that I think it's going to be ongoing quite a while, but we are going to look at speaking to the enforcement team in front of the co-op. We know that people have been parking by the bollards where they shouldn't be, so we have asked them to go and have a look around at it. But it's obviously, as you can see, there are only a finite number of enforcement officers throughout the whole of our borough.
That's great, thank you. And Sue Rogers has a follow-up question to that answer, Frank. She's asking for a set date as to when it will be fixed. That's regarding the path behind the station. And she'd also like to know about the alleyways between Radstock, Huddleston and Mansfield.
I'll hand that back to my Surrey council colleague.
Yes, set date. I can't give a set date because it's been going on a bit, and if necessary, I will have the footpath reinstated, then we reclaim the money. That's why we've got a barrier around it to protect the members of the public. I'm not too sure what the problem is with the Huddleston Road footpath. Perhaps somebody can tell me.
Marcus, is this the one that's been reported as having glass rubbish and the broken fence panel?
Let me cover the broken fence panel for the moment. Then, whilst Marcus comes back, he's struggling down his end. We have on the first, which is actually the 1st of July this week. We've got a team down there. It's an elderly lady. It's private ownership of a house, and there's brambles down the bottom of the garden, and the fence has fallen over, blocking part of the footpath. We've got a team down there to actually temporarily repair the fence on behalf of the old lady that can't manage it herself. But what we can't do is obviously replace the whole fence because it's a private fence, but we will be freeing up that footpath.
Okay. And right. I think sorry, with regards to the other footpaths in the area, I think what it might be quite good is if residents have alleyways and footpaths that they think do need looking at, arrange for us to come over and have a look, and we'll sort of see what can be done, whether it is a borough issue, whether it's just tidying up, or if it is something a bit more serious that we might have to involve Surrey as well. And I think I've said this before, and it seems like a very trite thing to say, but there's only 4 of us as borough councillor and borough councillors and county councillor, so we don't get to see every problem there is in the area. So we do really rely on residents reporting them first off, which you can do on the council website, Surrey and borough, but also letting us know where there are issues, and then arranging for us to come and see them, so that we can see it firsthand. Because it makes it a lot easier for us to know who to go to if we can see the issue that way. Yep, sure.
The only thing I would add to that, if I may, Marcus, is you've got the foremost united borough and county councillors working in the area. So we all work together, support each other, and we're there primarily and wholly for the residents. So you tell us, we'll go out there and sort it out one way or another.
Great, thanks, Bob.
And we all live in the area, unlike 1 or 2 councillors who don't.
Absolutely. There's been a few comments that have come in around young people gathering and vandalising local property and taking drugs down at the Rec, and that's been mentioned a few times. I don't know if David, you'd like to field that question?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, vandalism is an increasing problem. It's a pernicious problem, and it can blight whole communities, and the police need to know about it. We are increasing, doubling the number of youth engagement officers, so-called, because so much of it is done by young people, I'm afraid. And we don't want to criminalise young people. We want to help them. We want to nip it in the bud before it actually happens. So we've got a big effort to go into the schools and so on. We did before the lockdown, of course, to do that. And again, the matter is, we need to know about it. I'm sure the local police do know about it, and we want to be there and stopping this vandalism wherever it occurs. And we find it very useful. You know, if you want to take without any risk to yourself, give us some evidence on video, for instance, something like that. Everything like that can help us actually track down the people who do this. In extremis, we don't do it every time. We have a range of legal measures available to us. For instance, public space protection orders. We can stop people drinking, for example, there, and other matters like that. And it's so we are very much on the case, and we want to stamp it out.
Okay. If I can just say, I just want to say thank you very much, David. I was going to mention dispersal orders, which we don't want to use if we don't have to.
No.
I think with the recreation ground redevelopment as well, we will be putting in security and stuff on that. So I'm hoping that will help.
Okay.
We're also.
Could you tell me exactly which recreation ground it is?
It's the main recreation ground in Merstham, one side behind the football club.
Right. Okay.
But I think
I will bring it up to the police. I know they know about it, but
thank you, David.
We were working with the YMCA as well, who are working at the hub to try and look at some evening provision, but it's also a matter of getting people to attend it.
Yeah.
So I think I can remember when I was a teenager that I didn't want someone telling me what to do, and I'd go and see my friends. But I think as we need to offer as many options as we can to sort of get through to as many people as we can. There are always those that aren't going to want to participate, but I think the more we can do sort of community-wise, I think the better it will be for everyone. Because we want residents feeling that, one, they're unsafe. Two, they don't want to be in certain areas. Mertham's a village still. It's still a village, and we want people to see the village, want them to feel they can't go certain places.
Of course. Great, thank you, Frank. There's a follow-up comment from the answer that you just gave, which I'm sure you guys can answer. Sue Rogers has commented, as concerns have been raised here about footpaths and alleyways, does that mean that the councillors will now pay a visit to look at them, and will that be in the near future?
As councillors, first and foremost, as Keith said, we live in the area, and we're always willing to go and see residents if they have problems and if they have an issue. All a resident has to do is contact myself, contact Bob, Keith, or Mark, and we will always go and arrange to go and see them. But I will say a caveat to that: we will never guarantee to help you solve your problems, but we will always try and do what we can, whether it's ourselves or another area we have to go to. But I've never once not gone to see a resident that's actually asked to see us. So if residents want us to go and see a place in Merstham, as long as we can find it, we're quite happy to always go and see them or have them come and see us. But at the moment, we just had to be very careful with social distancing.
Sure. Okay. Just to add to that, residents, I mean, everyone can leave comments in the Facebook group, which councillors are looking at every day. So any direct questions to councillors can be put through that forum, especially regarding this particular situation.
Just also to say, I mean, the question is, will we look at footpaths? The answer is we invariably do look at things. We don't always, well, when we get an email from things, so when I'm having an email for something, if I'm going to say a cycle ride, I will always make sure I go past, shall we say, Albury Road, as I did today, just to have a look at speeding or see what I think the issue is. Because we live in the area, we have that advantage. Yeah,
that's great. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to the Epiphany Church. Susan Vinicum, sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly there, Susan. I saw a leaflet about a religious group wanting to take over the Epiphany Church. What a brilliant idea. Rather that than the place falling apart in ruins. What is the state of play so far?
Keith, do you want to do this one or do you want me to do this one?
I don't know any more than what we heard a couple of months ago, to be honest, Frank. So if you know more, then
that's what I was going to say. I
haven't had a good knowledge on it. Let's put it that way.
No, I've actually met the group who wish to take on. They have some brilliant ideas of what they wish to do with the church. Unfortunately, it's not in the greatest state of repair because obviously it's been empty for quite a while. There have been planning applications that have gone in. Unfortunately, I do sit on the council planning committee, so I can't say anything about those. We're happy as a council to listen to any groups. They have contacted the council and spoken to the leader, but what they need, any group that wishes to take over a building like that, they need to make sure that they come in and they know what they're taking on. It's not just a matter of saying, yes, we want to take on this church site. It's being aware of what that then entails for a group. I would love, buildings like that to be used as a community facility, which is what they really wanted it to be on the lines of the hub, but also to be a pushable. At the same time, on the flip side, we do have a housing quota to fill, and it is a site that the diocese did say would meet housing needs. Right. So it is a very difficult situation. I would say that I've spoken to the leader today, and he did say that they haven't spoken to him again since the last time, which is several months ago. And if anyone from who's listening tonight or is seeing the comments is involved with that church, and they're still, you know, wishing to be interested in the site, then please do let us know. Please do get hold of us and arrange to speak to us about their plans. You know, we're always going to listen to them. Same with any group. Same, you know, as it was when the hub was first mooted. No one really thought that, you know, that we could have such a great functioning building. It will be the same with the Epiphany Church. It's all part of, you know, the grand scheme we have as councillors for Merstham to be, you know, always moving forwards. You know, I said this before, when I took over 9 years ago, we were told not to do anything for Merstham because they would damage it. That's not the way Merstham is. Merstham is always now moving forward, and it's a great bunch of people. And if a great bunch of people can get themselves to do something with this building, which makes it work again, then that's amazing. Yep. So, you know, if they are still around and they are still willing to do it, please let them get in touch with us. Okay.
Okay. Well, the ways the residents can get in touch with you, that would be directly through email or within the Facebook group.
Yeah. If they want to get in touch with one of the councillors, we're all on Twitter. We're all on Facebook. If you just go to the council website, you can type in our names and you can get our contact details through there. It's the same with Bob at Surrey. All of our contact details, or they can ring the council on the main 276,000 number and get our details through that, or through Reigate and Banstead Association. They also have our contact details. It's really easy to get hold of us.
Just from a practical perspective, you know, I always prefer to be contacted by email. You can contact me how you like, but I prefer that for the simple reason that if I need to forward it to a member of the council, i.e. a member of the staff, it's just very easy to do.
Yep.
And get a record.
Same goes for me. If anybody wants to contact me, there's millions of ways of doing it. Just get online, Google me, Google my office, Surrey Police website, and I'll await your messages.
Thank you, David. Okay, we've got time for one last question. It looks like this one comes from Kim Price. She's asking, is there any chance of dog bins for Mercer's Lake?
Unfortunately, Mercer's Park, if anyone knows the geographic location of where it is, when you come to that little mini roundabout to turn towards Tesco's, as soon as you come from Nutfield Road onto the roundabout, you're actually then in Tandridge. So unfortunately, it's not our at all, never mind our own ward. So I'm not sure what would happen. So I think if someone is looking to put stuff on Mercer's Park, they would have to speak to Tandridge District Council. But on top of that, as far as we're aware, it's actually a private lake area. So they would then have to speak to the landowner. So it might be quite difficult to get bins put on. However, as we said before, if a resident wishes to contact me or one of our colleagues to put it forward, we're quite happy to send it on their behalf as residents of Merstham to Tandridge District Council to see what they would say. But it's not something that we have any actual control over.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Apologies if this has been covered before, but we've got a comment from Sarah Iyer, and she's raised a concern around speeding on Brook Road.
Brook Road specifically hasn't been covered, but I think David gave a comprehensive answer, and Bob, around speeding in other roads, and I guess the same applies. I'm not sure if those comments were heard by the lady, was it, in question?
Yeah, we have a few people that are just logging on, so maybe.
Yeah, sure. So it may well be that that wasn't heard. And basically, in summary, report it. Speed watch is a great idea, and David, I know, has grabbed the names of the roads that are issues, and I'm sure we can follow. He can follow that up.
Absolutely. I've made the note. Brook Road concerns about speeding. We'll make sure that's reported.
Great, thank you, David.
I've just noticed something. The two roads that I mentioned, Brook Road and Albury Road, they're both roads with a lot of parking on. Yes. I think rather than sort of specific speeding, I'm wondering if it's people trying to get from space to space speeding is a lot of it, to avoid getting stuck stagger.
Yep.
Rather than people racing up and down, which is often what you see as speeding. I think it might be people trying to cut ahead of traffic.
Okay. That's great. Thanks, Frank. Okay, we could squeeze in one last question just very quickly. Liz Brains again is asking what the police are doing about the amount of laughing gas canisters which have accumulated down by the wreck.
That is a real problem. Actually, using laughing gas canisters is not an offence. Selling it, dealing in it, is an offence. So police powers are pretty limited. They cause quite apart from the damage they can potentially do to mainly young people consuming it, they make a bloody awful mess, as we've all seen. I'm asking nationally, but I haven't got anywhere yet, nationally for the consumption of laughing gas canisters also to be made an offence, and that gives some powers to the police to stop it. But the answer at the moment has to be education. We must keep warning people of the dangers. It's not risk-free, quite apart from the environmental damage. Police don't do it. You can get hold of them very easily, unfortunately. And again, I've asked for restrictions on their use, and we need to stamp it out. And it'll take all of us to do that. I'm sorry I can't give a more positive answer, but that's the state of the law as it actually stands at the moment, and I think very unsatisfactory. Okay,
thanks, David. Well, it looks like that's all we have time for this week. So thank you everyone for logging on and answering residents' concerns, and hopefully no one was actually left out of that session. So yeah, thanks a lot to everyone, and thank you again to the Commissioner for joining us this week. That's really kind.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And nice meeting, catching up with old friends and meeting new ones.
We're not that old.
Okay, thanks very much, guys, and yeah, look out for the next Q&A happening virtually sometime soon.
Okay.
Sorry, Keith,
thank you very much. Thanks for organising it.
Thank you.
I think Keith, actually, David was referring to Frank.
No names, no pactrol.
Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Hey, guys.
Cheers.
Cheerio. Cheerio.